Hi, Lydiane. Namaste. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to my Friday Tarot chat. For those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Sadhana. And today I have a lot of different oracle decks as well as tarot decks on the table. And I see that I am buffering a little bit. Hopefully that will be okay. All right. What I want to say, this is a part 2. So last Friday I was on and I was sharing with you tarot decks that align with oracle decks. And I need to do this. Sorry, it's very distracting having to looking at myself in 2 places. And today we're going to look at oracle decks that align with chakra decks. And one of the things, I'm just going to close this. Oh, maybe I'm not, in case we have an incident. I will also, one of the things I want to say is I also would like to assign a few more moderators right now. I had a absolute troll explosion on Tuesday when I was live. And if it's okay with you, Lydiane, and Dee and Donna, you're the first 3 in. I'm going to assign you as moderators, and there's absolutely no obligation for you to stick around if you have to go somewhere. But if you are in one of the chats and there is an opportunity to support me with silencing trolls. And the way that you do that is you go to the 3 little dots that are to the right of somebody's name. And if you go there and you click on those 3 little dots, it will say, hide user on this channel. And there's sometimes other different options as well too. You can also put them in a timeout. And Andy, I'm going to add you as well too. And hello to Jen, namaste. There is, like I said, there's no obligation to stick around. It's just a matter of me feeling, hello Liz, me feeling a lot safer and knowing that I have other people. So on Tuesday, I had it was just a blast. It was just an explosion of troll infestation, and I couldn't manage it myself. So I'm just trying to be a little more, I'm going to just keep adding moderators so that you can all support me in that way. Okay. So hello to Liz, West Star Tarot, namaste. Hi, Colleen. Thanks for being here. And Clavis, namaste. I want to begin today with going to some of the unanswered questions from last week. And there was one question about, some of them I put into a banner and others I didn't. Okay, so one of them was about the Brady Tarot, and that was a deck that I don't have in my collection. I believe it's one of the many decks that is waiting for me if the US border ever opens in my PO box in the States. And until that time, I don't have it. But I did pull out Lisa Robertson's Animal Totem Tarot. And I want to talk a little bit about animal decks and where they might fit in the chakras. Today, I'm going to focus on oracle decks, but I want to finish up some of the questions or weave in some of the questions that came up last Friday. Okay. And please remember that everything that I'm sharing with you comes from my experience and the different schools of teaching that I have been working with. And I know that some of this just doesn't sit well with all of you because we have had different teachers and different lessons and, you know, different feelings and stuff. So this is the Animal Totem Tarot. So what I want to suggest with animal decks in general is that animal decks are going to, hi, Tina, did I say hello? If I didn't, I'm saying hello again, namaste. I want to say that animal decks in general, I'm going to probably work with them at the root chakra for several reasons. One of them is that the animals have a primal energy. They are based in the sympathetic nervous system. So animal energy is fight or flight, right? It's about survival. It's about when is the next meal. And you might have an animal deck that feels immensely healing and you want to put it up in a little higher frequency, and that is completely understandable. But I feel that for the most part, whether it's the Brady Tarot or it's the one that I'm showing you right now, which is Animal Totem Tarot, these are decks that are going to support and nurture those survival challenges. And they might help us actually with our sympathetic nervous system. So when we're getting lots of readings where we have cards like, well, the Nine of Wands, for example, is my adrenal burnout kind of card. And I might want to go to a deck like this. I've pulled out, and I have some other suggestions for the root chakra, but one of the decks that is for me, because of the energy of Ganesha, this is the Whispers of Ganesha Oracle. When I'm working with root chakra energy, I tend to pull out this deck. Decks that make you feel grounded and safe and secure. Decks that make you feel like you're going to be okay. Like there's a weight to them. And I want to talk about other energies here as well too. Now also Ganesha is the Ganesha and the energy of the elephant in general are associated with the root chakra. There's an animal for each of the chakras. The crocodile is for the second chakra, and the waters of the womb, the waters of the SWADHISTHANA chakra. So different animals are associated with different chakras. But as a generalization, I want to say that I'm going to put animal decks at the root chakra. And I see that. Oh, thank you, Colleen. Are you referring to last week's video? Okay. And Lydia, thank you for posting part 1. Appreciate it. When I looked at my decks in relation to the chakras, it really opened up a connection I had with one of my chakras I had discovered before. Well, that's good to know. So this is an exercise in deepening that awareness and using the tarot as a tool for healing. I'm also going to touch on the topic of actually healing, hands-on healing, in-person healing versus how far can we actually go with the cards. Okay. It's a beautiful deck of comfort. And there's something to do with the actual weight of the elephant that feels very, very grounding. Okay. Really, Sadhana made you do it. I'm also very, very in love with the color palette. I've never seen a deck that has a color palette like this. And it feels otherworldly the way it is, the way that it is drawn and illustrated. And the messages in the guidebook are very, very healing. Now I need to go to my notes because I have lots of things that I want to share with you. Also, there was a request from the UK fans, the UK subscribers, to open a second or to offer a second Tarot Through the Chakras class that was at a better time for people in Europe, in the UK and Europe. And so I am offering and we will be dealing with Oracle decks as well too, Tarot Through the Chakras class on Tuesday nights and Wednesday mornings. So depending on where you are in the world, one of those times should work better for you. And now in the shop on my website, both of those classes are open. There are 11 spots in each class. The class that I opened last week, there's 9 spots. And so I just opened the second one. So now there's a total of 20 spots available if you want to do this course with me, this 8-week course. Okay. All right. So that was another request in the comments from the video last week. All right, so I'm going to just go to my notes on root chakra. And there's lots of questions from last week as well, too. I will be getting back to those. So root chakra is about feeling safe. These are decks that may trigger the sympathetic nervous system, and it's about survival. It's about the healing of family in the sense of, I used the word tribe last week, but our comfort with family, our comfort with our family in this world. And so for some people, a tarot, an oracle deck that has a focus on your culture might be where you want to go. It might be a very important connection that you have with your people. So this makes us feel safe. This makes us feel at home. And so this is an essence of this chakra. Now that the whole idea of family also fits into the second chakra, which I'm going to talk about again. But the Weaver's Oracle is an oracle deck that is divided into tribes and as well as directions. And this particular oracle might, I don't know, like for those people who have a hard time feeling like they belong, this oracle deck might actually, you might actually find your home in this deck. It's an amazing oracle created by Carolyn Hillier. It's an indie deck that comes out of the UK. It's been out for years. It's quite expensive to get in North America. But it's very, very magical. It's definitely a one card at a time kind of work. And you can work with this deck as well, of course, in the second chakra, which I'll get to in a moment. Hi, Karen. Welcome. Namaste. So that's an essence of this chakra as well, too. The other, some other suggestions for the root chakra I shared with you. So we were talking about the Animal Totem Tarot. I have a lot of animal oracles, a lot. And some of them I like more than others. This one I'm absolutely in love with. And I would strongly recommend Fauna Inspirations for working with the root chakra or working with animal energy. It is the messages on the back are written with such heart, and they truly bring peace and harmony and blessings. I did an interview with the creator of this series of decks, Rebecca Lefebvre, some time back, and I don't know, all of her decks are just really, really magical. Okay, now there's one more thing I want to say about the root chakra. Like I said last week, the lower 3 chakras have a lot of different energy. They're the murkiest places that we have to work with. And there's a lot of different aspects in healing the root and the sacral and the solar plexus. So these three chakras, there's just so much to study and so much to learn. The other direction that I feel you might want to go if you're trying to heal root chakra is with money. Money. Money is a survival thing, right? Very much a survival thing. And when I was going through my decks, I was looking at, so this is the indie version. I think there's a different version now, and I'm not sure if it looks different, of Sacred Creators by Chris N. Sacred Creators, the intention of this is to help people to find more integrity and spirituality in their business and grow and develop business in a meaningful, heartful kind of way. And I can also see this being very, very powerful at the third chakra. And please know that we cannot separate these issues, clearly. But if you're working and trying to focus on the financial aspect, right? Finances as far as survival and growth and abundance, this really is another part of the lower chakras. You might also have another, I pulled this one out as well too. I don't have a lot of these affirmation style decks. There was something about this one that I really liked. And some of these messages pertain to lots of different chakras. But I feel like the intention behind affirmation decks feels very base. It feels, and this might be a personal thing, but the way to start the day, the way to feel like you're strong and you belong and this kind of thing. This also feels very third chakra. So this might fit better there as well too. So there may be a place for affirmation decks in the root chakra. Okay. So that's, and of course, third chakra for sure. Last week, I shared with you Tarot of the Hidden Realm as one of my home decks. One of the places where I feel really, really comfortable. Okay, so I'm still in the root chakra, by the way. I'm still down. I'm still in the root. I am not at the sacral chakra yet. I see that Dee is talking about sacral chakra. So I'm not sure if I am on and if I've interrupted somebody else's conversation. Okay. So let me just say, so I was talking about Tarot of the Hidden Realm last week. And one of my places where I feel at home is in the Tarot of the Hidden Realm. And this lovely deck, which is a highly spiritual deck, is a deck that takes me home. It makes me feel safe and comforted. And I know when I read with this deck that I am not going to be in a fight or flight response. I'm going to be able to lean into my parasympathetic nervous system, and I'm going to feel like I'm cared for by my family. And so that is a reason why I would put this here. Okay. So in summary, root chakra is animal decks for healing or deeper awareness with sympathetic nervous system, primal instincts. Decks that make you feel at home, like you're with your tribe, with your community. decks, yeah, those are the basic things, and there's different ways that you can connect with that. And so this is a personal thing, and just because I feel at home in one deck doesn't mean you're going to feel at home in another deck. We need to listen to the deeper messages and medicine of the chakras and then choose decks accordingly. Okay. Now I want to go to Liz is going through some stuff, and I'm sorry, Liz, I have missed the details of the conversation. Hello to you, Andrew. I'm glad I'm pulling out some of your favorites. Good. And Andrew, I addressed your question with the Brady. So Brady, I'm putting down at root chakra, and you can watch the replay and go back if you missed that. Okay. If I will go back and review all of your questions. And okay, that's good. I'm glad, Donna, that you kind of feel that. There's a few different ways we could go with that, but yes. Okay, no need to apologize. No need to apologize. I am going to now go to another question by our friend Andrew. And that was, so this was Andrew's question. Can you explain why the DNA would be sacral chakra? Is it because we grow within the womb there? And the answer is yes. Now, I was talking about this amazing deck, so the Weaver's Oracle. So if you are working with the Weaver's Oracle, because you want to belong, because there's a sense of wanting to find your tribe, wanting to find your community, this is the energy of the root chakra. But if you're working with the patterns, the samskaras that are repeating through the ancestral lineage, that is second chakra. And it is said, it is taught that through yogic medicine that the DNA lives in the second chakra. This is where the karmic patterns come through. This is a very murky, muddy place, like the mud in the metaphor of the growing of the lotus. So here we are in the mud. The seed is deep, deep, deep in the darkness. And so the Weaver's Oracle works really well with this energy as well too. Okay, so sacral chakra. Think of the energy of the womb. This is the energy of water. This particular deck also touches into the aspect of goddess. And so when we are working with and trying to find some understanding, maybe we are looking to find the goddess that is connected, most deeply connected to us. Working with a goddess oracle deck might feel really healing here. Hi, Joel. Namaste. Welcome. So any goddess oracle that you connect to, and this particular one is very watery. It's so I really like this one. Now this one took me a while. This one I purchased on eBay, and you can still get it. This is by the creators of the Vision Quest Tarot that we looked at last time, and I'm looking for the box. It's called Oracle of the Goddess. And the same team that made the other one. It comes in that old video box, just like Osho Zen used to come in. I believe it's out of print, but it's still very much accessible on eBay. And I'm so happy that I found this one. I don't have a lot of goddess decks in my collection. I did talk about goddess tarot and oracle decks in a video some months ago. But when we're working with the energy of SWADHISTHANA, SWADHISTHANA is the Sanskrit name for our sacral chakra. This is where Devi is at home, right? She's at home in the womb. Devi goes down to the earth, to the root chakra, to be present with us, right? And so Mother Earth, the energy of the goddess, also lives in the root chakra, but she's at home in the second chakra. Okay, so any of your goddess decks are gonna work here. Now, in extension, there's a lot of different moon oracles out there, and the one that I have been working with is the moon oracle, the one that's called the moon oracle. I'll show you. I don't know if I have a box. I might have the book here. And this this particular oracle teaches about the cycles of the moon. It's very, very healing. I'm sure you guys know this one, right? It talks about the moon mansions, the goddesses that are associated with the moon cycles. It has a little section on if you know your time of birth and you know if you can figure out which moon cycle, which phase of the moon you were born under, how this is the optimal time of each lunar cycle for you to act and succeed and sign the contract and so forth. So moon oracles definitely are going to work with second chakra. Okay. So healing ancestral wounds, moon stuff. Divine Muses I also put here because Divine Muses feels, for me, I use Divine Muses. I use Divine Muses. That's a lot of use with past life readings. So past life work is definitely here. So if you're healing, if this isn't already abundantly clear, past life work sits at Swadhisthana chakra. Okay, and then the other aspect of, or it's the same really, right? It's just another way to look at this, and that is when we are focusing on shadow. So think about moon, right? So when the moon is illuminated, when we're not necessarily when it's illuminated, when we are working with the moon, we're working at night, we're working with the energy of yin, we're working with feminine energy. And when we are in the dark, we're connected to the subconscious, we're dealing with the waters of the subconscious. So any of your oracle decks that talk about, this is where all the non-fluffy oracle decks go. Okay, so all the non-fluffy ones. And for me, this has always been a staple in my collection as long as it's been out there. This is one of the non-fluffiest oracles that is, it's so healing and it's deep and it's dark, and I don't recommend working with this deck or throwing this deck into a combo reading with a client who is just meeting this kind of work for the first time, because this is Oracle of Echoes, in case you don't know it. This is not a deck that steers away from what is real. Okay. Thank you for posting the link, Donna. That's very kind of you. Okay. And I'm fully aware of some of these offerings that I'm sharing with you are going to be new, or, you know, different ways to look at things. And I am totally open to conversation. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has posted questions either under last week's video or the questions that I am dealing with that were in last week's chat. And I'm going to go to a couple of those now before I go to solar plexus. Okay. Here's another question from Mr. Andrew. Andrew is Well-Tempered Claire. I'm sure most of you know him by now. And by the way, Andrew's going to be on my channel on the 25th. So on the 25th, he's going to be reading with me. And it's not going to be at 10 a.m. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific. The thumbnail's already up on my channel page. So I'm really excited to have Andrew on my channel. Okay. And here's his question. If one did an Excel sheet, and this is funny, you have to, if you've been watching me for a while, you know, I love this particular software or app. And you did an inventory of all of your decks, and you tried to sort your decks into chakras, and you had a surplus in one chakra or a scarcity in another chakra. Would this indicate overactive or underactive chakras? That's just such a amazing question. And I don't know, you know, I believe I did this, and I definitely have most of my decks are either connected to the 6th and 7th chakras. I'm going to say 5th, 6th, and 7th chakras, or the 1st chakra. And there is a definite, there's a connection between Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, and Agnya chakra, the third eye chakra, which we will talk about in the course. And so it makes sense that I have an abundance of both of those. And does this indicate overactivity in these chakras? And does that indicate that because I don't have a lot of solar plexus chakras, that I'm avoiding my work there? And I'm depleted there. You know, I don't think so. I think the answer is that I am, and I think this is personal, because I think some people just purchase decks that they feel comfortable with. So this is a Swadhyaya, moment. This is one of the tenets of yoga. Svadhyaya, S-W-A-D, Svad, or S-V-A-D-Y-A-Y-A. So Svadhyaya is one of the tenets of yoga. And this means self-study. This refers to inner reflection, to really looking at your stuff, and to get real with your stuff. And you can do this through turning inward. You can also do this through studying sacred texts. There's that word again. So, Andrew, my answer is it depends. It depends. It's a really good question. Yeah. Okay. And Donna has an answer there. I would say it indicates soul age. Interesting. I have so much to share. that's why I created the course. And this course is only going to just touch the surface. Let's go to, and Andy's kind of relating to that question as well too. All right, let's remove that question. Okay, what chakra would the mystical shaman be related to? I purchased the mystical shaman because it was in alignment with a lot of the teachings that I've studied. So the animals fit the directions that I'm comfortable with. And the way that Alberto writes, I like Alberto Villoldo very, very much. The way that he writes, and I love Jenna Della Guttaglia's collage work. And I knew before I purchased this deck that it would be something very special for me. So I'm rambling because I'm trying to figure this out in my head. This is a deeply healing deck. It challenges me. It challenges me. And we're going to go here next. So this is amazing. This is a perfect segue. So for me, this deck makes me want to be a better person. It makes me want to understand my strength. It makes me want to understand my own internal power. So for me, it feels solar plexus. For me, it feels solar plexus. We'll get to heart in a little bit. Heart is a different energy. So heart, I don't want to skip ahead. I want to kind of stay where I am because I'm going to get lost in conversations. Okay. I'm going to remove that. Okay. Manipura, scrolling down my list here, my notes. Manipura Chakra. Manipura Chakra is, again, this is another challenging chakra. It's a very important chakra to have done work with before old age. We certainly are challenged with it as women going through perimenopause and menopause. It's a lot of people do not transcend this chakra, and we do not work with the chakras A, B, C, D, E. You know, we go up and down and up and down, and we work with different things in different capacities. But this is another chakra that's loaded with stuff. This is the base of our self-worth. It's our self-worth. This is the home of the ego. So this chakra, these oracle decks make you feel strong. They help you to find your inner warrior, your inner power. They give you, they revive your will. And the question of Dharma, you know, Dharma, our path, our reason for being, is deeply connected to second and third chakra. But there's an energy connected to, I'm going to say, the wands and of fire to solar plexus as well too. So this again is very, very personal. This is a deck that's going to empower you. And that's why Mystical Shaman feels like a deck of an empowerment for me. So what is your oracle deck that empowers you? It makes you feel strong. It makes you want to be a better person. It makes you want to let go of the petty stuff and to move into trust. So this is where we begin to transcend ego. Okay? The fires of Manipura Chakra burn through our karmas. Okay. These are really, really good observations. Really, really good observations. Okay, so do I have any suggestions other than saying all of these things? We talked about Tarot of the She last week, and I think for a lot of people, Tarot of the She fits here really nicely. And I shared with you last week that purple deck, Self-Power, the purple deck. I brought out lots of decks here I haven't even talked about yet. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. So I shared with you this one from Deja Osborne last week. Might help if you could see the cards. And you know, this kind of a deck might also sit at the root chakra, but this kind of a deck might also give you that that reason for being. That reason for being. Yeah. And this card here, when I'm looking at this card, you know, this card feels very second chakra, very, very sacral. However, surrendering and letting go, this is very much a part of third chakra medicine. The whole sense of surrender and moving into a place of trust. So this is one, or something like this is definitely going to help us with healing the third chakra. Now, think about the energy of third chakra and all of the internal organs that live here. This chakra is what I want to say here. If we can learn to balance our digestion, if we can learn to bring our digestion into balance in a very practical way, we can begin to, I was looking for a recipe page in this one. We can begin to heal the third chakra. So one of the reasons I like this particular chakra, this particular book, this is the Hedge Witch. So the Hedge Witch actually has recipes and stuff in the back. It's an incredible oracle that I'm a fan of Ciolo's work. And you get lots and lots of medicine here. I've been doing some deep thought about this as I prepare for this course that I'm doing in January. I've done lots of chakra teaching, but I have never done a course that is card based. And so here we are dealing with food. And while food is very much connected with the first chakra and survival, the balance of food and the reason for eating food and the way we choose to eat food is very much connected to the third chakra and the healing of the digestive system, right? So how we digest our food is very much how we digest life. And so if you want to work with healing the belly, healing the digestive system, working with a food or plant medicine oracle might really feel good. It might really feel good here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat. I'm a little bit behind in the chat. You were talking about, so the Muse Oracle and Light Seers, I feel both are Manipura Chakra. Some of these I'm not familiar with. And I'm not sure what sickle and seed is. Okay. Okay, good. So we're in very much in alignment with these thoughts. Okay, so Manipura Chakra, solar plexus chakra, is about self-empowerment. If you have a warrior deck, this is where it would sit. So when we're talking about yoga, this is the warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3. These are the fiery poses that help burn through all of our crap, right? This is the element of fire. Okay. This is the Green Witch Oracle. Okay. And then we go to ANAHATA. So ANAHATA is the heart chakra. And sorry, Colleen, was it you who asked about, sorry, one of you asked about the mystical shaman as heart. And when you said that, the first thing I thought about was the card that's called the Beloved. So in the Mystical Shaman Tarot, there's a beautiful card called the Beloved. And I was talking about that this week because in the Facebook group, our archetype of the week is the lover. And I also this week I pulled out the Venus card as I was just after I pulled out the lover card. And then my next thought was about that Beloved card in the Mystical Shaman Tarot. So when we go into ANAHATA, into the heart center, we're learning about compassion and self-love and self-care and the medicine of gratitude, the medicine of, it's the place of peace. We're no longer, in the heart space, we don't wrestle with doing anymore. We've found a balance between our strength and our softness, and we come into this place of harmony. And so here I want to work with decks of self-care, decks of self-love, self-compassion. This is a very small oracle. I had the creator of this deck. I haven't done a lot of creator videos, and I would love to start doing them again, especially for the decks that I love so dearly. Akal Pritam was on my channel, and I feel that this deck, as well as her little decks, really do feel like heart space to me. Oh, I need a drink of water so badly, and I have no water on my table. Okay. So why? Just what I'm saying, like this is the heart, and the heart space is not it's not, I mean, it can be about the other and it can be realized in the other, but this is very much a deck about going into the self, so very much a chakra about healing the self. The meditations that take you into the center of the heart chakra are incredibly, incredibly peaceful. And I've trimmed this, by the way. It doesn't look like this when you get it. It has kind of a, I was going to say ugly. It has a yellow border. It has a yellow border that I didn't care for. So this is one that I would suggest for this particular chakra. Okay. And again, this is very, very personal. Andrew says the archetype cards by Carolyn Mice feels heart chakra for him. And so if that makes you feel that way, then that's what you work with. I would put that in a different place. But again, I want to give you feelings and underlying energy for each of the chakras and have you choose decks that fit where they fit. Morning Calm is such a heart chakra oracle. Okay, that even the title sounds beautiful. I'm not aware of that deck. Flora Healing avec la Vie. So Flora Healing is, yeah, I mean, I get that. There's a softness there. Mother Mary Oracle 2. Okay, beautiful. Do I have other suggestions? Yes, and I shared it with you last week. And this again is quite personal. And this is where I put Connected and Free. This is a deck that I feel it's just, it speaks to my heart. And maybe that's because of particular cards. I'll try to show you some cards I didn't show you last week. And, you know, some cards are very high frequency and some cards are quite low frequency. But to me, this is at the heart. Okay, so this is a healing deck. This deck to me feels very different than Anna's deck. We were talking about Oracle of Echoes. This deck doesn't stir me up like that one does. I find peace. I find peace even in the more challenging cards. Yeah. So this is Connected and Free, The Alchemist Oracle by Laura Naletta and Tegan Sweeney. Okay. Alrighty. Element of air, and then we go to element of ether at VISHUDDHI Chakra. Okay, so VISHUDDHI Chakra, throat. Okay, so throat is going to help you. It's going to give you courage through your voice, right? So when we're dealing with VISHUDDHI, there's often been secrets and lies and half-truths that have been buried in the family. Maybe you were, as a child, not allowed to tell something about the family. You weren't allowed to share a story. Or maybe there were secrets, you know, that are just being revealed in this generation. VISHUDDHI is a tricky chakra. Those who smoke, those who have chronic coughs or laryngitis, those people that deal with thyroid, parathyroid stuff, there's often a pattern of suppression. I just did a big swallow. When I go to the ashram, and I don't use chewing gum, and I say use, chewing gum is another suppressant. People that enjoy something like Fisherman's Friend or Halls, right? Those kind of things, throat lozenges all the time. So suppressants in general tend to prevent us from speaking. And there's of course, a profound connection between the second and fifth chakra. And we'll talk about that in the class. For those of you that have come in late, I did open up another section. Sounds like I'm offering a university course of the class for our friends in the UK. And so Wednesday morning is probably a much better time for if you're in the UK or in Western Europe. And we'll be talking about the associations between the chakras and the different how I work with each of the chakras in a healing practice. Okay, this is the next class that is starting. For those of you that haven't taken a class with me, this one's just a shorty. It's 4 weeks. It's about reading. So we examine those questions: what, who, what, where, when, who, what, where, and when. Yes, and it's an active reading class. If you are fairly new to tarot, it works as well too. It's a very I'm going to say it's an interactive class, and you can learn more about that on my website. Okay. Okay, so throat chakra. Throat. So any of the decks that stimulated you in the second chakra might work in the fifth chakra as well too. They might help you find your truth. I'm pulling out Roots and Wings. And I'm not sure what it is about this deck. This is one of the, I think one of my all-time oracle decks. I really need to kind of pull out, I don't know if I could even name my top 5. I don't know if that's possible. There's a voice card. And maybe it also has to do with the title of this deck. This talks about, I'm going to say, first and fifth chakra. Interesting, just looking at, like, reflecting on the title. So the energy, actually, no. Oh my goodness, it's so different when we look at the tarot and we're looking at chakras. So the energy of the heart is air. The energy of the element of the throat is ether. Ether is where we are birthed. It's our portal into the fifth dimension. So the release of the old patterns, the secrets, the lies, the half-truths, helps us to move into our spirituality. So this is the portal into the sixth and seventh chakras. And it's absolutely essential that we lose all of the BS, the masks. The masks must be shed before we can move into the sixth and seventh chakra. And so this is the chakra that encourages us to do just that. Oh my God, look at this card. Goodness. It's really a beautiful deck. And passage. So the fifth chakra is a passage into a higher frequency. If you've studied and done deeper chakra work, you'll know the relationship between the Bindu chakra at the back of the head. So this is about the release of and the purification of the Amrit. This is way beyond this video, but so yeah, so think about your oracle decks that it's like, okay, there's a deeper connection to spirit in this deck than there is in in the second chakra. This one lets you be you. It lets you be you. So which deck lets you or gives you the strength to speak? And see, this sounds a little bit like solar plexus, but this is different. This is about your voice. It truly is about your voice. And we no longer pretend, like when we move among different groups of people, we don't change our vocabulary and change the way we are because we want to fit in. we embrace exactly who we are. And so whether we're at the office or we're hanging out with the neighbors, we're so comfortable in our own skin that we speak the way we speak. We are the way we are. Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be. I put here Roots and Wings, and I also put another soft deck here. And again, this is personal. This is personal, but part of my discovery of my voice is embracing my spirituality and finding my voice in public, around others who might not be comfortable with it. It's about, oh, look at this. This is the confidence card. So this is the confidence of voice, the confidence to beautiful, mystical, divinity, faith, spontaneous, success. For me, this is my truth. This is my truth. Speaking. I'm gonna change asserting to speaking your will. Speaking your will. The actions you take. So actions are connected to the third chakra. The speaking of the voice, I'm going to put at fifth chakra. Thank you, Lydiane. Okay. So now I'm going to go up to Agnya Chakra. So third eye chakra. We talked a little bit about this last week, and that is that working with, when I teach chakra, like a yoga course, and we're doing chakra sadhana, the energy, we always begin with the third eye. And the reason we begin to work with the third eye rather than the first chakra is the clearer the sight, the bigger the picture, the easier it's going to be to deal with the murkiness, the muck of the first, second, and third chakras. And so exercises and practices for the Agnya Chakra are critical to the journey. Okay. So when I think of Agnya Chakra, third eye chakra decks, I'm thinking of decks that really see the whole thing. And there was some amazing suggestion. There was one amazing suggestion last week that felt, and I forget what it was. I don't know if I wrote it down, but there's a link between the first chakra and the sixth, the first and the sixth chakras. And so if you have a deck that feels roots and third eye, this is a really good big picture deck. And the one I suggested was Dust to Onyx. I think that was a really, really good example. And I have an unusual suggestion for third eye chakra. And I'm not sure if you're gonna kind of get what I'm saying here. So this is the Materia Prima. The Materia Prima is a deck that takes us into the center of the earth. It takes us deep into the elements of the periodic table and looks at the elements of the periodic table through a different lens, through their reason for being. And the guidebook that goes with this is really quite something. Now, you can read this deck intuitively, but I would strongly recommend having the guidebook. And I am going to do an extended video on this deck, maybe a couple of videos, and I've done some work with it in the groupings. There's groupings within, there's suits within this deck, not evenly sized suits, but there's suits within this deck, for lack of a better word. And so what I have found is an incredible perception of matter and myth in this deck. And it's really, really quite something. Now, I'm trying to remember, one of you who was in the chat last week suggested a tarot deck, and I said, oh, that's perfect. I should have written it down because I didn't write it down. Okay. Now, Soul Trees, and there's another version of this deck that is available. So the actual, this one, Soul Trees, is no longer available, but there's another one that has come out. Once you start to understand the chakras, now this deck has chakra cards in it, which I have removed because I feel they are redundant. This particular deck, with its color palette, invites us into the darkness. It offers lightness and peace. It has a connection between the earth and the intuitiveness of the way the earth moves. The way that the colors are drawn takes us into a deeper insight. And so in this deck, we have seasons, we have flow and movement, we have, it's an interpretation of energy through color within the trees. And it works really, really. It takes some time to do that because you need to be familiar with the energy of the chakras and okay, so here's an example. So this one, which is gratitude, is soft, it's gentle, it's green. Gratitude is one of the biggest medicines of the heart chakra. Green is one of the colors that is associated with the heart chakra. This particular card has elements of blue in it. So if I were talking to this card, I would be talking about the fusion, I don't know if that's the right word. I'm going to talk about the expression of gratitude through the voice. There's a reason that blue is here. And there's a lovely softness that feels very nurturing and full of self-care. And so this deck teaches us about big picture stuff. Okay. Soul Trees. I did order the new deck, and I will be doing a side-by-side and a comparison of the new deck. I'm sorry, I forget her name. Allison, I think it's Allison Williams. Allison Williams, yes. Okay. What else do I want to say? I think that's all I want to say. Okay, now beyond the elements. I had a aha moment yesterday. I walk Ember every day in the forest. And I think I finally figured out my tarot deck. And I figured out the name for my tarot deck. And I spent many, many hours yesterday writing about, I think finally yesterday, it just all came together. And it has to do with my work with the chakras. And one of the things in working with the chakras is that we don't ever work with the crown chakra. It's not a chakra you work with. You work with and do practices with the first 6 chakras. Once those chakras begin to awaken, you start to feel energy in the 7th chakra. The more work you do with the other 6 chakras, the more the 7th chakra will begin to awaken. And so when I'm reluctant to, like, I don't tend to work with the 7th chakra, but when I want a direct antenna to spirit, that's what I'm talking about with so it's not necessarily in a healing capacity. I'm just looking for an antenna. So the 7th chakra decks are my antenna decks. So what is your antenna deck? And maybe I should, I'm not sure what I put in the description box below. I did that last week. But this is one of my antenna decks. This is cosmic reading cards. And Nari Anastasia has chakra associations in the book as well too. But to me, this is definitely a connection to spirit, source, a direct connection to source. Okay, so what is your antenna deck? What is your antenna oracle deck? Blue Messiah would be the same. So even though this is a gratitude card, which connects to the heart chakra, this takes me to a different plane, a different experience. Okay. I shared with you last week Sufi wisdom. So I deeply resonate with the artwork of Razuli. And Razuli is the one who is the illustrator of the Rumi Oracle. And so I would put Sufi wisdom or the Rumi Oracle here. And I've been gifted. Well, actually, anyway. I want to thank one of you dearly for bringing my awareness to the Tulku Oracle, Tulku. I'm so looking forward to having this on my reading table. It is. It's definitely for me. It's definitely a 7th. It's a connection to source oracle deck. Okay. Now there's a couple more, if you can bear with me, there's a couple of more questions that came up last week that I want to address. Next Friday, I'm going to be back with deck combos, and I will, I think I'm going to weave in some of these teachings into deck combos as well too. So what I might do is deck combos through the chakras or something like that. So one of you asked about darkness of light tarot and what chakra darkness of light might be. Okay. So this is not a deck. I got this deck. Anyway, it's not a deck that I've worked with a lot, or I've worked with at all, actually. I've looked through it a few times, done a few readings with it. But there's a couple of cards that really spoke to me, and I'm not sure where you would put this deck. but I'm just looking for the cards that made it abundantly clear where this was going to go. Still looking for them. I think that was one. So I'm curious which chakra you think this deck would go. Oh yes, this Three of Cups. Three of Cups, that was one. Just before I hit the go live button, this deck fell on the floor. So the decks that I had out, it just fell all over. These cards fell all over the floor. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go second chakra. Second chakra. This feels, the other place it might go is first chakra. There's a little bit of fight or flight that's definitely part of this deck. Survival. So I'm going to say first or second chakra for this deck. I'm really, really intrigued with it, and I look forward to working with it. So I forget which one of you asked that question, but that was one of the questions. And did I answer all your questions? I'm just going to hop back up. And I know there's questions I've missed from this week, but hopefully I will get to those next week. And the last question was from our lovely Donna, who is in the chat. And I want to address this question because it's a really important one. And we're going to we'll deal with this when we do the class as well too. And that is that, so the question is, what role does working with the cards play in relation to hands-on healing, plant medicine, right? Because we're looking at these decks as healing through the chakras. So what is the role of the cards in the healing? Why don't we just go to a healer, or why don't we just do hands-on healing ourselves? So what, and this is, it's a really, really good question. And so I think that working with the cards, like any other type of work with the cards, is going to help us to, it might help us to clarify something that's going on. And so I rarely do a card reading before a Reiki session. I might pull a card of inspiration before a Reiki session, but I would definitely do a reading after a Reiki session. Because what happens during a Reiki session is I pick up on all kinds of information. So not only am I channeling life force energy, but I am, through my hands, I am feeling the release of biosen from the body. So the release of I feel the release of energy. And I'm also clairvoyantly, clairaudiently picking up on messages to do with the client. And so to do a chakra reading after a Reiki session, and to have the cards on the table for the chakra that feels overactive or underactive, can be a beautiful way for the client to see something in pictorial form. So if you're working as a healer, it can be a lovely follow-up to a session. So that's one way. If you are neither a healer nor comfortable with any of this kind of stuff, but yet you love to work with cards, and cards is your thing, what I would suggest is that the working with the cards is a way to open a door to deeper investigation. I don't feel like we're going to just work with cards and do nothing else. They're a lovely tool. They're a lovely way into deeper insight, deeper connection. But we can't stop there, because there's always more to do and more work to do. So in short, that's how I would like to answer this question. Okay. I will, once, you know what, and this might be 12 months from now, but now this has become crystal clear. Now this has become crystal clear what my deck is and what the title for the deck is. I am going to, I'm going to write the guidebook, and I am going to then, once the wands chapter is completely materialized in my brain, like it's completely downloaded. So once I have a couple of chapters written, then I'm going to reconnect with the artists that I was telling you about. And yeah, and so I can actually, I feel like for the first time, I can actually see this happening, and it's going to happen. I'm very excited about it. I actually feel very flushed right now, flushed with enthusiasm. So yeah. So thank you for your support. Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad that makes sense. All right. Okay, so another long one today, but I feel like this is coming together. And if you want to work with me further and dive into the chakra healing and learn more about some of the things that I have touched on, then sign up for the class. It doesn't start till January, and we will be doing, for each chakra, we'll do some background information. So there'll be a little bit of education, svadhyaya, study, self-study. There will be journal prompts for each of the chakras, and there will be a spread, but also prompts to modify the spread for your own particular situation. Because like I said, if we're only doing this in 8 weeks, and the first 3 chakras are so loaded with stuff, I could really do 8 weeks on each of the first 3 chakras. So we will, like I said, there will be lots for you to work with each of the chakras, because doing it in 8 weeks is extremely compact. Yeah. And the 8th week will be like an overview and like doing full chakra spreads and how to do, and also I'm going to bring the pendulum in as well too in the 8th week, because it can be really helpful for this kind of stuff. I might even bring in some crystals or something. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to leave you for today. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. And I hope that your preparations for the equinox are starting to build. It's a lovely time to clean and do some house cleaning and clear off your altar and get your altar set up for the equinox. Yeah, so those of you that are in the Facebook group, if you want to post pictures about how you're doing that and your setup, your altar shifts and so forth, I'd love to see them. Okay, yeah. Bye for now. I will see some of you on Tuesday. Okay, namaste.